Okay, so today we're going to be talking about division procedures. More particularly, we're going to be talking about division of multi-digit numbers by single-digit numbers. Let us first review what division exactly is. Division is simply how many groups or sets of a certain number can be made from the total. And there's several ways that we can express division. Along this top line here, you'll see 12 divided by 2 equals 6. And I've shown you three different ways that you can express division problems. Now let's talk about the vocabulary a little bit that surrounds division. In these examples of division, the number 12 is the dividend. Okay, and that's the number that's going to be divided. The dividend is always the number that's going to be divided. And you can see that highlighted in yellow in each of these equations. The number 2 is going to be our divisor. That means we're trying to find how many sets of 2 we can find in the number 12. So how many times does 2 go into 12? And 6 is the quotient, and your quotient is always going to be the solution of a division problem. There's one other term I'd like to go over, and that is remainder. If the divisor does not go into the dividend an equal number of times, the leftover number is the remainder. Now let's take a look at our example here. We have 13 divided by 2. Now 2 goes into 13 6 times, similar to our previous problem where we had 12. But we don't have enough to make a whole nother set of 2, but we do have this one extra. So that's going to then become our remainder. And you could write your remainder, as is seen in the example here, right next to your quotient. Now we have an example here of a division problem. Let's go ahead and read through this. It says, let's say you have a bag of candy with 148 pieces of candy to equally divide among 3 friends. How many candy pieces will each friend get? So now the first thing we have to do in setting up a division problem, we have to ask ourselves which of these numbers in this problem is going to be the dividend and which one's going to be the divisor. Well, what we're trying to divide is the candy, so that's going to automatically become our dividend. And so we're going to have 148 pieces of candy, and it's going to be divided up amongst 3 people. So that will be our divisor. Now I've chosen to set the problem up in this manner because it's just easier whenever you're doing division procedures to set up the division problem in this manner. So let's go over the steps of what we're going to do. As you can see, everything in step 1 I have highlighted in yellow. So we start with our problem. The first thing we want to do is we want to see how many times 3 can go into the first digit of the dividend. And we find that 3 cannot go into 1, so we're going to go ahead and move over to see if it can go into the first 2 digits. And 3 can go into 14. It goes into it 4 times, so you'll see the highlighted 4 placed on top of the dividend. And the next step is going to be to multiply 3 times 4. And that's going to give us 12. And we're going to place that 12 underneath the 14. And our final step now, contained in this step, will be to subtract 12 from 14, and that's going to give us 2. So when you're doing a division problem, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to divide into the dividend, and then you're going to want to multiply, and then you're going to want to subtract. And after we do all that, we're left with the number 2, but we're not done just yet. We're going to repeat that process again, actually. As you can see here in step 2, I've highlighted everything in blue. So the first thing we do after subtracting 12 from 14 and getting 2 is we're going to drop down the number 8 from the dividend. And we're going to put it right next to that 2. And then we're going to see if 3 can go into 28. And it obviously can, and it's actually going to go into it 9 times. So then we're going to repeat those steps. So we've divided, now we're going to multiply. 3 times 9 is 27. We're going to place that 27 underneath the 28. And again, our final thing we do is we're going to subtract. So we're going to subtract 27 from 28, and that's going to leave us with 1. Now in step 3, I've highlighted in purple. As you can see here, it's actually the end of our problem. And it's the end of our problem because we don't have anything else to drop down from the dividend. Now, had the number been 1,480 as opposed to 148, we would have been able to drop down a 0 again and see how many times 3 goes into 10 and repeat the whole process. But since there is no other digits left in the dividend to drop down, we simply see if we could divide 3 into 1, and we can't, so that 1 becomes our remainder. And that is how you solve a division problem using division procedures.